Welcome back, team. I wanted to make this quick video because I'm currently working through my Udacity React Developer NANODEGREE program, and it's really freaking awesome, and I'm making some notes along the way because I figured, one, that'd be a good way to remember the important things, and two, I really wanted, since it's thanks to you guys I'm able to take this course, to kind of go through it with you and share some of the cool things that I'm learning. So it's all focused on React, which is the JavaScript library created by Facebook engineers a few years ago. I think it was by one guy in particular. Unfortunately, I do not recall his name. Sorry, one guy. But I'm just going to go quickly through the notes that I have written down here for lesson 2.1. And then each of these lessons are broken down into like basically different pages, like different topics. And so we'll go through these quickly. So the first thing we covered was composition. And React uses composition of elements and classes as opposed to inheritance. So composition is to combine simple functions to build complicated ones. A good function follows the dot rule. Do one thing. All functions should do one thing. And I really am enjoying how most of the lessons have additional reading. So I will provide these links in the video description below if you want to check them out, give them a shot. I haven't even read all the links yet, but we'll get there. Maybe we'll circle back. I'm kind of enjoying progressing through the course. Next, we went over how a lot of JavaScript is imperative code, which is telling JavaScript what to do at every step, like what to do and how to do it. You're expressing a command, it's a commanding way of writing. Declarative code is writing with JavaScript, like expressing what you want done, what you want to be accomplished. So kind of like the end result. And then what that means is that once you express what you want to happen, it kind of allows JavaScript or whatever language you're working in to figure it out for you and do the steps for you. Because we're using the React library, React is declarative because we write the code that we want. We write our desired result. React deals with the UI, so how to write like the front end, the user interface. So when using React, can just write what we want that user interface to be, and React will figure out how to do it for us. We don't want to write imperatively, we want to write declaratively. React is in charge of performing the JavaScript DOM steps, document object model steps, to get us our result. Some more additional reading on that. Then we move on to data bindings. Data changes in one place, change is auto-reflected everywhere else. So when data is binded in that way, if it's showing in 4 different areas in our user interface, you change one of them, and the other 3 will automatically update. Angular and Ember, which are 2 other JavaScript libraries, they use two-way data binding. So that's what I just described. If you can change it anywhere, and then the other places will automatically update. React uses a unidirectional data flow, which means that data, I think I just wrote it down here, data lives in the parent component and is passed down to the child component. It doesn't necessarily mean, you can ignore that, that's my personal timer, sorry. I should have turned that off before recording. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't update or change the data in a child component, but it does mean that if you do that, if you change it in the child component is going to, I think the way they described it, like basically contact the parent component or send that change up to the parent component. The parent component will then update, will show the change in data and will send that change back down to the child, at which point the child will then update itself, will then change. So like the changes always start with the parent and then they send that information down to the children. So in that way, data flows in one direction. So that's pretty cool. Seems to be a little bit like cleaner, makes more sense. I don't know if there's like a delay in doing that, but the only delay, if there is one, if there is any kind of notable delay, it would be in the initial change to the child. But this is how React does it, and it seems to be a cleaner way of coding, of programming it. So we have 2.15. React is just JavaScript. It's a JavaScript library. There's nothing extra complicated about it. React builds on a lot of techniques of functional programming. This is true. Arrays, map, and filter methods, which I previously hardly used at all, but they are vital to functional programming, and I know how to use both of them now. It's pretty freaking awesome. Like one lesson was basically on how to use both of them, so that was nice. And try to replace for loops with map and if statements with filter. So this is just a better way of doing things the functional programming way. Try to replace these things, or for loops with map, if statements with filter. Adding on to this, there's an excellent Udacity course on ES6, which also goes over map and filter along with everything else new in ES6. So I will link to that as well in the video description if you want to check it out. It was very nice. I went through the whole thing just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And I think there was like 2 new things that I hadn't seen yet or like really practiced yet that were new with ES6, but it went over in more detail things like map and filter and even like arrow functions. And it was really awesome. It was really awesome because I have a better understanding of all the new ways of doing things and the better ways of doing things, which is why we came out with them. So yeah, you should check it out. It was very cool and very quick to get through. 2.16. React is great because it's a composition model, declarative nature, unidirectional data flow from parent to child is really just JavaScript, and then they came out with a lesson challenge. So they wanted us to read 3 articles. I did read these 3. What is the virtual DOM is the question we wanted to answer. So React, I'm going to not read my answer and try to do this. React uses something called the virtual DOM, and then when something changes on the UI, so something changes in React, it updates its own virtual DOM, which it is maintaining. React is maintaining this first, and then it compares the virtual DOM to the actual DOM for changes. And then it only updates what is necessary to be updated in the DOM to reflect whatever change you're trying to make. And by doing this, by updating the virtual DOM first and then just comparing it to the document object model, it's our way of updating, of changing as few of the DOM nodes as possible in order to improve performance, because it takes a long time. If you change a DOM node, then it has to go through like the whole rendering process and like painting it to the screen. And I did read about it in one of these lovely things. I think it was this one right here. That was very nice and informative. But yes, so it's great to have the virtual DOM available, because in that way it actually saves performance and just speed of your application. So let's see what actually I wrote here. The virtual DOM is an internal representation of the rendered UI, which React builds and maintains. This is true. It includes the React elements you return from your components. There you go. There you go. So the elements, I believe, React elements referring to like HTML elements, like elements on a page. And each node in the DOM, again, if my understanding is correct, each document object model node is basically like an HTML element. It represents an HTML element. So you want to update those as little as possible so you can render as few as possible in order to save performance time. Explain what makes React performant. It's the virtual DOM. React's virtual DOM makes it performant. The virtual DOM enables React to avoid creating DOM nodes and accessing existing ones beyond necessity, which is typically slower than operations on JavaScript objects. There you go. So accessing the DOM is typically slower than operations on JavaScript objects, which is what the virtual DOM is comprised of. The virtual DOM is just JavaScript, managed by React, which is just JavaScript. So that's why we do it this way. Explain the diffing algorithm to someone who does not have any programming experience. I thought it was going to be more complicated than this, but from what I read, the diffing algorithm is just comparing 2 different entities for differences. It could be a tree, it could be a file, it could be one line of code, you can just compare things. So the diffing algorithm, or diff algorithm, is used to compare 2 files, entities, components, so as to determine if and where any differences may be present. That's what I wrote. If there's more to it than that, I did not pick it up from these 3 different articles here, so I missed something, but I think it's that simple. Thank you for tuning in to this short video, and I will make sure I update you in the future. Next lesson will be 2.2. Next lesson will be 2.2. Peace out, team.